Man, we've got a problem. I have the October video all written out, but I have no idea what to say in September. I said cool it, okay? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a sequel to one of the most popular videos on the channel so far, where I essentially rehash all of the same stuff, only worse, and with a way higher budget. My god, you're a genius. I'll get to writing. Also, we're gonna recast everyone. What? Hello everyone, it is Tuesday, I am Tuesday, and today we're going to be talking about the Neverending Story II, the next chapter. If you've already seen my first Neverending Story video, we're going to be doing this a little differently. That last video was a deep dive comparison between the book and the film, and that's what this video was going to be too, but like an alcoholic suburban dad who emotionally neglects his children and has made grilling his personality, I'm itching to get a roast in. It's been, Jesus, a year and a half since I really got to pick apart a hot pile of delicious garbage. So that's what this video is going to be. I'm gonna go through point by point and try to explain what I can only describe as an 80s fever dream. Hopefully this will be more entertaining for you than sitting through this was for me. Subscribe, I guess, if you want to see me talk through the third one. Oh god, there's a third one. I'd love to talk to all of you about this in the comments. Y'all really seemed to respond to my analysis of the last movie, so hopefully I'll be able to chat with some of you again. Anyway, let's get started. Dream a dream, and what you see will be. For those of you who didn't know, The Neverending Story II, the next chapter, is a 1990 dark fantasy film starring Jonathan Brandis and directed by George Miller, but not that George Miller, the other guy. The movie opens with a considerably less woobly opening credit sequence that lasts way too long, but should be commended for its auditory callback to the original theme song. To start things off, we have a close-up of Bastian making a sandwich while reading aloud from an epic fantasy novel, and oh my god, what happened to your face?
What's wrong with your face?
Why do you look so abnormal? What is this costume? What's wrong with your face? In the last movie, Bastian looked like a normal kid who wore normal clothes and had a normal, if kinda schlubby looking dad. For whatever reason though, in this movie, they just threw all of that grounded realism out the window in favor of some late 80s sitcom hijinks. Bastian pulls the classic, "Oh, I'm trying to clean things up quickly before Dad gets home, but I just keep making more of a mess" gag, and we are only like 3 minutes into the movie. Why? We cut to Bastian trying to join the swim team for some reason, but is unable to do so because he can't bring himself to jump from a high dive board. Now, for those of you in the audience who are starting to hear character arc setup sounds in the distance, you wouldn't be surprised to learn that this is the emotional core of the movie. For the rest of you, no, I'm not joking. Bastian needs to find the courage inside of himself to be able to prove that he can jump from high places, I guess. Don't at me, okay? I understand this as much as you do. In order to do this, Bastian must head over to Carl Conrad Coriander's bookshop. But not before establishing once again that his mother is dead. And establishing that his father is seeing someone new. In that vein, I just want to take a second to bring up Bastian's dad in this movie. In the last go-around, the father was in one scene, had maybe like 3 lines, and looked like your stereotypical mid-level 80s office worker. In the second movie, this guy, well, yeah, this guy fucks. This guy is like 30. Like, he could play the jock character in a 90s high school sitcom. This guy looks like he auditioned for Flash Thompson in Spider-Man 1.
I'm an engineer.
Anyway, Bastian meets Coriander and asks for a book on courage before being goaded into stealing the book The Neverending Story for a second time in as many films. One raucous storm and some questionable visual effects later, and we find our heroes sailing across a lake made of acid toward the shining city of... Okay, so I forgot the name of the city when I was writing this script, and I can't remember it now, so I'm just leaving it blank. It is here that we are introduced to the main villain of the movie, Zaida, along with her henchmen, Forehead and Nimbly. Oh my god! You are horrifying to look at. They expo dump about how Orin fulfills all of Bastion's wishes and that they've made a machine to steal his memories each time he does. Why would they do this? I don't know. And they don't explain it very well, so I'm just going to chalk it up to them being evil and leave it at that. As an aside, the whole memory loss thing makes much more sense in the book, as it functions more as a neutral mechanic of the natural world, helping to uphold the wider themes of the narrative instead of just randomly being part of a Doofenshmirtz-style memory removal-inator. The point Enda tries to make in his novel is that those who seek ultimate power ultimately lose themselves while doing so, until they are nothing more than a decrepit husk of the person they used to be. While their intentions may have initially been pure, they will eventually fall to the allures of power and commit great evil in the name of the people or the greater good.
Did I also forget to mention that this book was originally written in German?
That's a little bit too heady for this dumpster fire, though, so instead we're stuck with memory loss bad, ergo bad guys do memory loss. Hijinks ensue, and we end up here. What is going on in this room, man? We find out that the childlike Empress is trapped, and Bastion needs to stop the emptiness from consuming Fantastica. Otherwise, all stories everywhere will be forgotten by humans. That's right. It's just the plot from the first movie, except with Bastion instead of Atreyu in the lead role, and without any of the philosophical ponderance or charm. Speaking of Atreyu, he shows up out of nowhere, just in time for another exposition dump. Nimbly explains more about the wishes, and then Bastion summons an evil, hideous, fire-breathing dragon, which immediately destroys a large portion of the city that they're in, before flying away and forcing our heroes to give chase. This, of course, is simply a mechanical decision from the writer's point of view. Bastion needs to find where the evil villain's lair is, and for whatever reason, the writers didn't have a good way of organically building to that. So instead, they just have a dragon appear out of thin air that leads the heroes to where more of the plot is, before disappearing from the story, never to be seen again. I could go into how the inclusion of the dragon Smerg makes more sense in the book, how it works both as the setup to a joke and helps to exemplify the childlike Empress's cosmic neutrality, but you intuitively know all of that. It's obvious that Enda understands how to craft a well-written and thoughtful narrative. Instead, I'd like to shine a light on how the inclusion of Smerg actually hinders the movie as opposed to its intended job of making the plot move forward. He does succeed in his mechanical function, technically speaking, but only at the cost of making the world feel extremely small. 5 minutes ago, the movie tells us that the city of Redacted due to memory loss sits in the middle of an acid lake. Okay, fine. However, Atreyu rides into the city on Artax and rides out of the city on Artax to chase the dragon. How? He just rides off set, Bastion hops on Falkor, and suddenly we're in a plains environment. Then we're racing across the desert. Then we're in the mountains, and a giant hand is like,
Anyway, I started blasting.
and begins to shoot space lasers at our heroes. They fly away up a mountain that somehow overlooks both the Ivory Tower and Zaida's lair, just to encounter Rockbiter again. You know, for the brand recognition. Our eyes are cursed to envision this monstrosity, while Bastion finally gives the plight affecting Fantastica a name: the Emptiness. Even though we've already been calling it that. Oh, did I mention we're halfway through the movie? Let's recap what has happened. Hey, that's not fair. More has happened than that. Yeah, that's more like it. Bastion hasn't even lost very many memories yet. He will, though. Oh, he will in the dumbest way possible. Atreyu goes to get some Kinder Surprise eggs before Bastion sneaks up on the hand castle. Bastion gets shot with a laser, and we see an awesome display of Orin's protective power, followed by Bastion overtly implying that he wouldn't save his best friend's life. The two of them lure out some of these bug knights and then run away so that Atreyu can unleash his army of highly merchandisable and collectible marketing tie-ins upon Zaida's army. It's a mess. A colorful mess, to be sure, but still a mess. And then we get to the good stuff. As the entire population of the Island of Misfit Toys assaults the front entrance, the writers suddenly realize that Bastian has only made like 2 wishes in the whole fucking movie, and they all start scrambling to speedrun his downfall. So, let's play the game, what does Bastian wish for? Is it A, all of the giants attacking him and his friends disappear? B, to teleport directly to the evil owner of the castle in order to put a stop to her once and for all? Or C, wishing for a ladder up the side of the castle 1 rung at a time? Cast your votes now in the comments below. Are you ready? Have all of your votes been cast? That's right then, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is C, wishing for a ladder up the side of the castle 1 rung at a time. Congratulations to our glorious contestants. You win nothing, except the surety that Endo would never put something like this into one of his stories. Seriously, what were the writers thinking? Anyway, more sitcom hijinks ensue, only this time over a pit of boiling lava, and it's finally time for the boys to confront Zaida, which is also the perfect opportunity to get sidetracked again. The dynamic between these two is so damn cringe, man. Like, it's legitimately hard to watch. They're trying to do the whole people from another world don't understand Earth slang / references / culture trope, and it just is not working. This usually comes down to Bastian saying something like,
Atreyu, get real.
and then Atreyu responding with,
I'm an engineer, all right?
No, wrong clip, Raymond.
What do you mean by getting real?
Thank you. Even them defeating the giants plays into this. I can just imagine some studio exec blowing lines in a C-suite office somewhere going like, and then we'll have the racial stereotype character tell this loser to wish for a weapon, but instead, he'll wish for a can of spray paint. Yeah, that'll resonate with the kids. I'm cool and funny. Our heroes confront Zaida, who immediately surrenders before trying to play up Bastian's ego. Did I mention Bastian has mommy issues in this movie? She pulls the standard fake surrender bit, the "Oh, thou hath conquered me, I am thy loyal servant" card, which everybody sees through except Bastian. She runs them around in circles in search of the ivory tower, despite it already have been established that the tower is right over the hill from them, all while creating a rift between Bastian and Atreyu. This all comes to a head when Atreyu attempts to take Orin from Bastian in order to save him from the memory removal-inator. Unbeknownst to him though, Zaida had given Bastian a magical belt which makes the wearer invisible, allowing Bastian to eavesdrop on a part of Atreyu and Falcor's conversation. The script then utilizes the have 2 characters drink a cup of the stupid juice in order to create narrative tension instead of them having a 2-second conversation that would solve their interpersonal problems trope. One of my least favorite tropes. In order to create narrative tension for all of the, 10 seconds before Zaida reveals her plot and Bastian goes running off. All the way from the mountains to the desert, which, to be fair, is only half a mile away according to the world's previously established scale. Zaida gives pursuit, which, also fair, considering he is the only one who would be able to stop her so long as he wields Orin and remembers who he is. However, she does this by blatantly ripping off Discworld for no reason either. Here, take a listen.
They could travel with the speed of darkness, which was faster than the speed of light.
Yes, that's Bastian's dad narrating. Yes, he's had his own character arc where he gets progressively more sweaty. Don't worry about it. That's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is... Raymond, it just says nerd rage in the script. Well, it's rational to me. Fine. The line is jarring, and it exemplifies how unoriginal this movie is. Nimbly has a change of heart and finds Bastian Bing chilling in the desert. He tells Bastian that the real Neverending Story was the friends we made along the way and that he needs to return to the Silver City in order to save Atreyu's life before squawking and flying off into the sunset. Gone but not forgotten, bird monster, no matter how much we would want to. Once back in the middle of Lake Acid, Bastian gives up his last memory of his mother in order to save Atreyu's life before turning to face Zaida in a final showdown. Literally just turning. By the way, the big bad villain of this movie popped up for the last battle like fucking whack-a-mole, just to get exploded by the sickest burn a 12-year-old can come up with.
It's so sad Steve Jobs died of ligma.
Who the hell is Steve Jobs?
Ligma balls.
Then the whole world gets fixed.
Look, the problem is over.
And the childlike Empress shows up to congratulate Bastian personally for saving them. In a massive room where this is happening. Seriously, what is going on with this lady? What's the point of her being here? The childlike Empress tells Bastian, and thus the audience, that he's finally been able to recognize that the courage was in himself all along, and that he can now return home. First of all, that character development doesn't seem deserved. Bastian has largely remained a static character throughout the film up to this point. It's just that so much wacky stuff has happened around him that we just assume he's grown, even though any thought into the matter would show us that he hadn't. Second, what do you think the only way back home is? I'm sure all you media analysis whizzes in the audience have already figured this out, and you're right. It's the waterfall. Finally, Bastian has found the courage inside of himself to jump from a high place, I guess. At least they're consistent in one sense. And then it ends. We have a couple minutes of falling action where Bastian and his dad hug it out like bros, but the story is officially over right here. I tried to do some analysis post hoc, but it's like 3 a.m. while I'm writing this, and I can barely remember anyone's names outside of the core 4 or 5 characters in the movie right now. That, coupled with a nonsense story that fails in even the most basic of mechanical levels, helps to create a nigh-on unwatchable cinematic fever dream that was somehow still able to bore me. This movie cost nearly $85 million to make when accounting for inflation, and it is so broken that I am amazed the script even made it out of the first draft stage, let alone a first table read. Seriously, Enda would never have imagined putting this to pen, so who on earth is responsible for... Et tu, Brute? Even thou hath forsaken me? 3 out of 10, don't watch this. I know I didn't bring up Falcor much in this review because he essentially does nothing, but I just wanted to take a second to tell you that the voice acting feels really off. Just like the rest of the characters in this movie besides Coriander, the voice actor for Falcor was recast in the role, and for whatever reason the new voice feels uncanny in a way that I find hard to put a name to. I think it has something to do with the effects and audio mixing surrounding him, as if they were done well enough to make any problems unnoticeable, but not so well as to make him feel real within the landscape. I don't know. It's a minor thing, but I think it's kind of emblematic of the wider issues inherent to the movie.